My husband of 3 years returned from a business trip with a pregnant woman. Upon hearing the news, I excitedly approached him. With a distant glance, I realized he was going to divorce me. Everyone was waiting to see me make a fool of myself. Yet, I was joyfully thinking of crawling into the shadows. Finally, I could leave this man with a clear conscience. After 3 years of marriage, Reeve finally found a woman he likes. I lived in fear every day, afraid to return home, afraid to seek out male models, and had to insincerely reject various suitors. This kind of life has finally come to an end for me. When I rushed to the airport with my eye drops, Reeve was protecting a heavily pregnant woman, preparing to get into a taxi. I shouted, "Don't go." The two seemed startled by my shout. Reeve's fair, slender hand shielded the woman behind him. "What do you want to do?" "Don't get me wrong." I hurriedly wiped my eye drops. "Don't be nervous, I just think it's uncomfortable for a pregnant woman to take a taxi. I just bought a $2 million convertible, let me give you a ride home." The woman looked wary and asked, "Reeve, who is she?" Before Reeve could respond, I jumped in and said, "I'm his cousin, here to pick you up." On the way back, I chatted away with the woman in the back seat. Reeve kept looking at her gently. I understood then that I needed to work hard for my own happiness. So, in the guise of Reeve's cousin, I talked a lot about things back home. Her gaze finally began to show trust, and I tearfully started to tell her, "My cousin Reeve is a deeply affectionate person who has not dated anyone for so many years while waiting for you. You two must get married soon." The woman believed me, her eyes shimmering with tears. Ignoring Reeve's increasingly dark expression, she unreservedly shared the story of their romance with me. Her name is Wendy, and she and Reeve fell in love at first sight. This year marks their 2nd year together. Reeve has never taken her back home to get married because she insists on completing her studies before returning to marry. Reeve has stayed abroad with her all this time. Damn, what a touching story, if only the male lead wasn't the one listed as the husband on my marriage certificate. 2 years. You two are so sweet together. Do you know how I've spent these 2 years? I'm about to become a nun. Out of frustration, I pinched Reeve's thigh hard. "Why didn't you say anything sooner? After 2 years, why didn't you wait until I was dead to tell me? Have you ever considered that I'm a living person too? 3 years ago, when my work was not going well, I went to a bar to drown my sorrows. Amidst the bright lights and flowing drinks, I saw a man with a fair face, sharp features, and deep, dark eyes that shimmered with an enchanting hue. He was so handsome that I almost drooled, and fueled by alcohol, I really wanted to have a one-night stand. When I approached with my drink, I realized that the man was 3 years younger than me. He was crying and blowing his nose. After graduating from college, with no career success, his family was pressuring him to get married. A life like this has no meaning, he didn't want to live anymore. I stayed up all night at the bar, carefully advising him. As if that wasn't enough, I'm also a northerner. I hate it, why am I a northerner who can't stand to see others suffer? The next day, I was awakened by the sun. I was sleeping by the bridge, and on me was the shared electric bike he had thoughtfully covered me with last night. He was 2 meters away from me, also covered with an electric bike. At first, I just felt embarrassed, but the next second, I screamed. I was tightly holding a red booklet in my hand. It's a marriage certificate. I married someone I met for just one night. I helped a person I met for the first time resolve their life's troubles. That person is Reeve. I slapped Reeve awake and said, "Let's get a divorce." I originally thought this was just a farce, but I didn't expect Reeve to be such a petty person. He first deceived me, saying he got drunk one night and lost our household registration book in the river to keep me calm. Then he went home, handed the marriage certificate to his mother, and called me, saying, "Sister, if I don't have this marriage certificate, I really will commit suicide. Please don't divorce me, okay?" It was impossible to be swayed by his looks, but he was giving me $500,000 a month, plus a 300 square meter apartment. At that time I was just starting my business and was so short on money that I thought about selling my good friend as a slave. How could I refuse that? Besides, such a handsome young man might meet someone he likes within a year, and then it would be him begging me for a divorce. I steeled my heart and sent him my bank account number. I thought life would pass quickly, but I ended up living in a hard-won widowhood for 3 years. Since that incident, I haven't seen Reeve again. He doesn't answer calls or reply to messages. If it weren't for the timely bank notifications every month, I would have thought he had long since left this world. My dear dad thinks I can't find a partner, so he has introduced me to countless excellent marriage candidates. I can't even count them all. But as a married woman, I dare not meet them. What if my dad takes a liking to one and wants me to go get a marriage certificate? As my dad introduced more and more people to me, I didn't even dare to go back to my warm and beautiful home. Fortunately, I soon got through these days. The rushing wind blew against my face, and my happy emotions reached a peak. The car quickly arrived at a high-end community. I dropped them off at home, and I couldn't wait to shout out to Reeve, "Did you bring the divorce agreement?" Reeve stood straight, hesitating to speak. "Did you not bring it?" "It's fine, I'll go get it right now, or we can skip the signing. We still have time to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau." I still need to ask my brother. I looked down on this thought internally. Why ask your brother about this? Looking at that aggrieved face, I reminded myself, we've endured for 3 years, a few more days won't make a difference. Alright, then hurry up and ask your brother, I'm in a hurry. Just as Reeve was about to say something, Wendy in the back room started calling his name. After confirming that divorce was indeed possible, I followed him inside. Sitting on the sofa, I said to Wendy, "Sister-in-law, how many months do you have left until you give birth?" She didn't answer. Perhaps the effects of progesterone were too strong, as Wendy looked exhausted and unhappy at that moment. I cursed in my heart, "Reeve, oh Reeve, you really are not a decent person. Wendy is willing to carry your child for 10 months, and you still drag it out without giving her a title." I quickly edited a divorce agreement and sent it over. When I looked at Wendy's belly, feeling a pang of compassion, I transferred $1 million to her bank account. After a hurried goodbye, I had just sat in my car when I received a message from my high school classmate Lily. "Wan, are you in the Lijiang community? I live here too, and I just saw someone who looks a lot like you." "Is that you?" "It's actually Lily. My best friend from high school. We haven't kept in touch much since college, and I never expected to run into her here. Lily is already married." She got more and more excited as she spoke, finishing up several years of her life in one breath. After taking a sip of water, she looked at me with a face full of excitement. "Now it's your turn, are you married? You were so popular in high school, your husband must be great. And, have you had kids? How have you been these past few years? After so many years, you're still as chatty as ever." I interrupted her barrage of questions and quickly shared everything about Reeve. Her mouth dropped open wide enough to fit a table. "So, the unattainable flower, you haven't dated anyone in so long? Isn't he just too immoral? Now he has a perfect life, and you don't even have a guy by your side? Quickly tell me, what's his name?" "Reeve." "Alright, I'll remember that. I definitely won't have any dealings with his family in the future." She thought for a moment. "Once you get divorced in a few days, I'll find you a whole bunch of handsome guys." I shouted, "Once I get out of this terrible marriage, I'll sleep with every guy my dad introduces me to, and then I'll sleep with the ones you introduce." I can't even imagine how amazing that would be. Coward, I dare to think, after being married for so long, I've been daydreaming and night dreaming about the feeling of being with a handsome guy. Lily suddenly sat up in her deathly illness. "His name is Reeve? That reminds me of someone. Our high school classmate, Ian." Ian was tall and slender, with smooth shoulder lines. Even the plain school uniform looked extremely good on him. In my memories, his face was often turned towards the sun, his fair skin seemed to glow under the sunlight. Lily always said that someone like Ian is bound to be in every girl's youth. After reminiscing for a while, I couldn't help but sigh. He is indeed a handsome guy, but perhaps a bit too much of a jerk. I participated in the competition, and he took advantage of the teacher's favoritism to snatch my qualification. When I was doing a little business at school, he reported me to the principal's office. I could let those go, but he even stole my first-place scholarship. After taking it, he came to show off to me. I shook my head repeatedly. Ian really doesn't have good character. Do you think Ian could be Reeve's brother? Lily's offhand comment hit me like a bolt from the blue. The two faces in my mind actually started to overlap slowly. They do look quite similar. It's over, I can't get this marriage to work. I felt like fainting on the spot. I have a grudge against Ian. I was just guessing, there's no way things could be that coincidental. Besides, Reeve is so rich, and Ian is practically broke. Every time there's a class gathering, he says he can't go because he has no money, not even able to afford the school uniform or pay for meals. He really is quite poor. Lily immediately denied it. Has your internet been cut off? Ian is no longer the Ian he used to be. He's quite popular now and has plenty of money. I shook my head and let it go, hoping they weren't brothers. Before Lily's husband came home, we reluctantly said our goodbyes. Since the last time we met, I was so eager for Reeve's message that I almost hung my phone in front of my eyes. It's fine that I never received that message, but all the messages I sent just sank into the sea. Alright, you want to play the disappearing act again, but unfortunately, you've already revealed your location. In the Lijiang community, Reeve and Wendy were basking in the sun. Not wanting to disturb the warm scene, I chose to wait downstairs. Reeve, I'm downstairs at your place. Bring your household registration book, and let's go get divorced. 10 minutes later, he arrived in front of my car. His bruised and battered appearance was a bit comical, and I couldn't help but burst out laughing. Can you give me a little more time? My smile froze. What are you doing? What does our relationship need time for? If someone didn't know better, they'd think you were making promises to a mistress. Your wife is about to give birth, and you still won't divorce me. Can you really live with yourself? It's not that I don't want to, it's just that my brother won't allow it. Why won't your brother let you get a divorce? I asked. He shook his head. Does your brother know you have a child? He shook his head again. Are you that afraid of him? I once again lament how reckless I was back then. I really shouldn't have drunk that night. I should have inquired whether he was even capable of making such decisions. I don't even have a boyfriend now, which means I can afford to be completely unhurried. His wife is only a few months away from giving birth. What is he so hesitant about at this time? So you're not planning to divorce me now? He quickly shook his head, his gaze firm. I will divorce you. Before Wendy is born. I really feel like I can't communicate with you. How about you give me your brother's contact information, and I'll just talk to him directly. No way, my brother doesn't really like women. I can also communicate with gay people, thank you. As I was leaving, I rolled down the car window. Is your brother called? Never mind, it's nothing. Ian shouldn't be a gay guy with a personality disorder, right? I sent a friend request. I'm Sylvia. Reeve's brother, whom he had never met, had always refused. At this moment, the class group chat, which had been quiet for 10 years, suddenly exploded. The class monitor proposed a reunion for old classmates, and the homeroom teacher would also come. Lily, let's go together, Wan. Sure, you lead the way. The dim light had a unique beauty in the eyes of someone with myopia. I had a skewer of barbecue, and my mood was surprisingly good. On the other side of the bustling crowd was the school. The scent of youth, sealed for over a decade, rushed towards me. People asking for my contact information were coming and going, almost forming a line. At 27, I wasn't as old as I had imagined. The class reunion was set in a large restaurant, packed with people, creating a lively atmosphere. Everyone was gathered together, just like when we encountered an excellent problem back in the day. Lily and I squeezed our way in. As soon as I squeezed in, I couldn't help but roll my eyes several times. I found a corner to sit down. The person surrounded by everyone was a notorious girl from back then, Clara. She had a terrible reputation in high school. She loved to wear makeup and would usually stand at the school gate after class, calling a bunch of delinquents to pick fights with others. However, that was a personal matter. What really made the entire school avoid her was what happened in our senior year. Senior year was already stressful, and she got into an argument with our homeroom teacher, and surprisingly, she called her boyfriend from the streets to beat the teacher into the hospital. After that, she just packed up and dropped out. This class reunion was meant to visit the teachers, so what was she doing here? Just looking at her was irritating. Lily, after gossiping, came over with a mysterious air. I heard that someone in our class has done something outrageous, becoming a mistress or something like that. Today's class gathering is actually because the legitimate wife has come looking for them. The legitimate wife? Are you talking about Clara? At that moment, Clara was like a princess surrounded by stars. If I didn't know about her high school past, I would have thought she was a princess from a wealthy family. So what's the situation with the homeroom teacher? Why hasn't she arrived yet? I wasn't interested in other people's private matters, and in my annoyance, I forgot to lower my voice. My words drew everyone's attention, and their hesitant expressions were like they were performing in a grand play. Clara laughed, her sarcastic demeanor suddenly making her look over a decade younger, as if she had returned to her years as a spirited young girl. She stood up, walked over, and crossed her arms, but no one invited that old woman here. However, I have prepared an even bigger surprise for everyone. You will all be very pleased. The term old woman hit me like a bolt from the blue. Sorry, I must have walked into the wrong place. I'm not your classmate. I stood up, grabbed my bag, and was about to walk out. Just as I reached the door, two people blocked my way, probably Clara's lackeys. Lily and I have always had a tacit understanding. What are you doing? Are you saying I can't leave? The two of them didn't speak, but their expressions were anything but friendly. The others seemed to have agreed to stare at us, and the atmosphere suddenly became tense and charged. Ha ha ha, if you didn't know better, you'd think we joined some kind of pyramid scheme. What do you think, class representative? The class representative from the third year is the same person. I recognize the face but have forgotten the name. I glanced at the crowd around me. Yes, those who have become savvy naturally won't step forward. Good dogs don't block the way, you two get the hell out of my way. With a forceful push, I thought to myself, I've studied Taekwondo for so many years, not to be someone who gets bullied. Hey, don't play tricks on us. Watching the two people who were holding onto the door frame slide down again, I couldn't help but laugh and cry. Lily, let's go eat by ourselves, we won't stay here. Clara slowly raised her phone and said, the main character is gone, so what meaning do we have staying here? Sylvia, is being someone else's mistress addictive? My cousin Wendy has been abroad for 3 years, originally a returning PhD, now several months pregnant and waiting to give birth at home, while her husband, my brother-in-law, is reluctant to get her a marriage certificate, all because of this woman. While my cousin is busy discussing wedding arrangements with her family, she is thinking about how to seduce my brother-in-law into marrying her. Clara's voice wasn't quiet, and in an instant, the room erupted. With Sylvia being so beautiful, it shouldn't be hard for her to find a good person, right? Why does she have to be a mistress? When have you ever seen an unattractive mistress? It's only good-looking people who get involved in such things. You have no idea how pretentious she was in high school, acting all high and mighty. After so many years of schooling, she still ended up on this path. If only she had just been with me from the start. Lily tossed her bag and sat down again. Where's the evidence? If you can't produce anything, I'll sue you for defamation. You talk so easily, thinking you can ruin a girl's reputation with just your words. The sudden turn of events caught me off guard, and before I could react, Lily had shielded me behind her. Perhaps Lily's words had an effect, as the girls mostly fell silent, while the men grew even more emboldened. Does this kind of thing still need evidence? She doesn't look innocent to me. Back in high school, I could still take a second glance when she was in bed with me. TSK, who would even look at her now? Dare to slander me to my face? You must be looking for trouble. I found those words unbearable, so the next moment, I kicked that person and the chair he was sitting on to the ground, and he screamed in pain. He got up, cursing nonstop, his eyes filled with rage as he came at me, but I quickly knocked him down again. This group of people was already mediocre in high school, and now, before reaching middle age, each one has developed a beer belly, weak and frail, just a touch makes one feel disgusted. I casually tossed out a few bills. This few hundred is for your medical expenses. Is there anyone else who wants to earn this money? Lily couldn't stand to see me so helpless. You all bear the world's ugliness. You just can't stand to see others live well, wishing everyone else would be as miserable as you are, right? Actually, it doesn't have to be so complicated. If you looked in the mirror more often, you'd understand a lot. After dealing with this disgusting bunch, only the loudest one was left. At this moment, she was so stunned that she couldn't say a word, still trying to maintain her composure. Clara, I don't know where you heard such things, but I have quite a few scandalous stories about you here. Do you want to see them? Clara's face darkened, and she straightened up. Sylvia, do you think that just because you act like this, no one dares to confront you? No matter how much you refuse to admit it, the truth cannot be changed. The person next to her opened their phone and tossed it onto the table. The evidence is overwhelming. Do you dare to look at this photo? The phone was quickly taken away by someone. Someone was already eager to gossip. Lily glanced over and surprisingly gave me a knowing look. She said, "It's over, that photo she edited is really good." What? Feeling guilty? Clara provocatively said. Me being the mistress for Reeve? Don't be ridiculous, we've only met once in 3 years. I want to see how you plan to make this rumor stick. The pictures on my phone are of Reeve and me in the car. One is a staged shot that looks like we are kissing, and the second is a photo of Reeve accompanying Wendy for her prenatal checkup. That car of yours costs over $2 million, right? Can your family even afford that? And this outfit of yours probably costs 6 figures too. With this appearance, you say you haven't been a mistress? How thick-skinned can you be? I scoffed. Indeed, it shows a lack of insight. If you want to be like this, don't blame me for being rude. Clara, is this your financial backer, John? He has been trying to discuss the contract with me for several months now. Do you recognize him? What a coincidence, John's wife has been coming to me for help investigating his infidelity, and coincidentally, the mistress is my former classmate. My hand slipped lightly again, revealing a photo of a portly man and Clara in a seductive pose. These things were originally meant to be evidence for John's wife to help me gather against him, but unexpectedly, they served their purpose first. Clara's face turned red, and no one stood by her side anymore. The reason was simple. She had been able to rely on a few connections because her life was going well, but in the end, she was the most pathetic one. Her eyelids were crimson, and in a fit of anger and embarrassment, she rushed forward, the wine glass magnifying in front of her. What are you all making a fuss about? A tall figure caught the eye. Clara's red wine stained his pure white shirt beyond recognition. It was unclear who called out class monitor and who eagerly stepped forward to greet him. It was Ian, who had matured a bit more since high school. His features were still perfect, like a painting. He stood there, surrounded by the crowd, distant and aloof. In high school, Ian was dazzling, with excellent grades. The honor roll was like his photo album. He was also good-looking, and love letters piled up in his desk one after another. He served as class president for 3 years, but he was quite rigid in his ways. I don't know what the homeroom teacher thought about our supposed complementarity, but they insisted on seating me next to him for several semesters. It was only then that I saw his true colors. He appeared aloof, but was actually quite repressed. He would boast about his perfect scores when I lost points due to carelessness, secretly praise himself during speeches, and even draw caricatures of the teacher behind their back. We participated in several competitions together afterward. If it weren't for his antics, we might have become good friends. Well, it doesn't concern me anymore. I wanted to leave but couldn't. Ian held my wrist. His lazy voice, tinged with a bit of hoarseness, still carried that nonchalant tone from our youth. Baby, why didn't you wait for me before coming over? Don't be mad at me, okay? Baby? I was taken aback. His affectionate demeanor made me feel like we had something going on. The atmosphere became subtly charged again, and I guessed it was because they felt they had offended someone they needed to go to great lengths to please. Then I won't hold back. I casually linked my arm with Ian's. Baby, did we take a wrong turn? These people aren't our classmates. Are you joking? I've been sitting in front of you for a whole semester. I was the one sitting third to your right. The one who always got punished to stand during class. Clara slipped away without me noticing. The others probably didn't have the face to keep bothering me either. I took the opportunity to pull Ian out, leaving that group of snobs inside to flatter each other. The evening breeze was chilly against my skin, and I had left my coat with Lily. I said to Ian, "Thank you for today, I'm leaving now. Next time, I'll treat you to dinner." He draped his suit jacket over me, his gaze intense. How have you been these past few years? I really disliked the smell of alcohol, but mixed with Ian's scent, it made me a bit tipsy. He wanted to kiss me, but his lips only brushed against my face. I shamelessly let him hold me. In my mind, another scene played out, a teenage Ian, his face swollen from a beating, still smiling at me. At the New Year's Eve party, I looked good, which sparked jealousy in a group of not-so-harmonious people. They cornered me against the wall, and at that time, my dad was very busy with work. I was also constantly borrowing knowledge, and when I encountered this situation for the first time, I didn't know what to do. I curled up in a ball. But they had no intention of letting me go. They punched and kicked me, even trying to rip off my clothes to take pictures. It was then that Ian came over, like a hero, kicking the person in front of me away with one swift move. He said he couldn't bring himself to hit girls, so he only pulled them away when they were attacking me, and ended up getting hit a few times himself. When they realized Ian wouldn't fight back, they simply turned on him and gave him a beating before leaving. He smiled and told me to live happily and to take care of myself in the future. It was from that moment on that I no longer felt weak inside. I would always be the first to stand up for myself. When we both got into the same high school, I paid special attention to him, even though he had long forgotten me. At that time, I always felt that to like him, I had to be even better than him, but he was always indifferent and never gave me any leeway. Occasionally, I could even sense his malice. I don't know how long I kept him hidden in my heart before I could forget him completely. A simple hug from him brought me back to my original self. It seems I have returned to my high school days, carefree yet cautious when facing the one I like. But now that he is holding me like this, I can't back down again, can I? He said, "After you divorce my brother, can you give it a try with me?" He repeated this sentence 3 times, and I took the initiative to lean in. "Let's give it a try when you're sober." It turns out Ian is really Reeve's brother. I waited and waited but didn't receive a single reply from Ian. He was drunk, so I decided to act as if I were drunk too. In the following days, I was so busy that I almost forgot about that matter. Once again, Wendy, heavily pregnant, stood at the door of my office. She said, "You really have no shame. It's one thing to be a mistress, but why did you send your lover to hit my husband?" I carefully helped her sit down before speaking. "First of all, the injury on Reeve's face was caused by his brother, and it has nothing to do with me. Secondly, the issue between Reeve and me is that he refuses to get a divorce, so you shouldn't say that about me. Finally, you and Reeve are married, and I suggest you discuss any matters with him first." For this matter, I, who had already borne a bad reputation, did not want to carry this nameless debt any longer. Deep down, I always believed that Reeve and Wendy were not unreasonable people. The best way to resolve this issue was to speak openly about it. Both of them are innocent, so there's no need to hide anything anymore. Wendy clearly didn't appreciate it. "It was you who did this. What use is it for me to communicate with him? How long do you want to harm us?" After my careful guidance, I understood the situation. Wendy believes I tricked Reeve into marrying me, and then shamelessly refused to divorce, preventing them from getting their marriage certificate and the child from being registered. TSK, if that's the case, I do seem quite malicious. I replied, it is true that Reeve and I obtained a marriage certificate, but the reason is exactly the opposite. It was Reeve who tricked me into getting the marriage certificate, and you should be well aware of that. I don't know who told you this, leading you to get involved. Ever since you returned to the country, I've been trying to get Reeve to handle the paperwork, but he hasn't gone with me to file for divorce. He says it's because his brother disagrees. However, don't worry, I will soon go to clarify things with them. Wendy was half convinced, and I couldn't really argue with a pregnant woman. After some back and forth, I finally managed to send Wendy away safely. It's been so confusing for a while now, and some things really should be clarified. But I didn't expect it to be this dramatic. The two brothers are clearly not that far apart in age, yet they look like a father and son pair. Reeve has a comically bruised face, while Ian is refined and elegant. From behind a door, it looks just like a child being bullied outside, with a parent backing him up. I couldn't help but laugh before I even stepped inside. Reeve, how did you end up like this again? Reeve glanced at me and then at his brother, stammering without saying much. His brother appeared calm on the surface, but in reality, he was gripping his pant leg tightly to hide his nervousness. The two brothers are not fond of speaking. It can't go on like this forever. I said, Reeve, your wife Wendy came to see me a couple of days ago, and by the way, your wife's cousin was with her. I felt like my spine was going to be poked to pieces by them. I don't want this either. It's my brother. He said our marriage is fake, a cover for my infidelity. He beat me several times, just to prevent me from getting a divorce. I stared at Ian, wanting an explanation. He said, do you want a divorce? His voice was hoarse, as if he was insisting that I didn't want a divorce, with a hint of pain in his eyes. I'm sorry, my brother hurt you by cheating. I should have kept a better eye on him, but if you really like him, I can guarantee, I promise, I can make sure you two can stay together. I didn't even realize I was laughing. Didn't you say you wanted to give it a try with me? When are we going to try? Besides, what your brother said is true, our marriage is indeed fake. Reeve looked at his brother, shocked, as his face turned red. What kind of plot is this? My brother is coveting my wife of many years. Reeve glanced at me and then at his brother, and suddenly understood, so you didn't want me to get a divorce because you were worried about her being wronged? Brother, I told you long ago not to be so reserved. You should have just asked. How was I supposed to know what you were planning? I took 2 beatings for nothing. Reeve stretched his hand in front of his brother. Brother, hurry up and bring the household registration book and marriage certificate. My wife is waiting for me at home. Once the paperwork is done, you can take your precious Sylvia away, okay? I was laughing so hard I couldn't stand up straight. I felt a bit embarrassed being suddenly called out. Clearly, we agreed not to be confused anymore, but I was still confused when handling the divorce procedures, and I walked into my alma mater with Ian in a daze as well. In these past few years, we have had no connection at all. It was only at this moment that I truly felt how many years we have missed. A fake marriage has never been able to stop me from searching for my true soulmate. I am just waiting for someone. I asked, after all these years, why have you never contacted me? Your Twitter must have at least 200 messages, right? We had exchanged contact information, but I had long forgotten the password to that account. I grabbed his phone to see what he had sent, and after a fierce battle lasting hundreds of rounds, I didn't get to see the phone, but our lips touched instead. After exchanging breaths, I said, let's go get our marriage certificate. I used to not believe that a guy would wait until he was 30 for a girl, but looking at Ian, who couldn't even kiss, I felt a surge of inexplicable emotions. I won't let you regret it, he said, his hand brushing over the top of my head. For major life decisions, you should consult your parents first. Perhaps because of late love, Ian and I developed particularly quickly, and soon we were discussing marriage. Ian even said that he hadn't been planning this for a long time. Before he even pursued me, he had met my dad, occasionally bringing in some big deals while casually inquiring if I was married. At that time, my dad had called me to meet several blind date candidates, one of whom was Ian, but I never went. My dad, that old man, hoped I would get married when I didn't have a boyfriend, but on the day I actually got married, he cried like a baby and was laughed at by others. He even gave Ian a cold shoulder for several days. After formally assessing Ian for a few months, my dad left the group to me, something I had been looking forward to for a long time. My dad said he had worked hard all his life, and when we were tired, Ian and I exchanged a smile, and in the next second, he flew abroad. We also flew in opposite directions. A honeymoon trip is a must. During the second trimester of my pregnancy, I was so troubled that I couldn't sleep all night, my mind filled with the memories of Ian's dislike from high school. The things that cannot be obtained in youth will haunt one for a lifetime. After a nightmare, I beat him up. In the dream, he was unfaithful to me and was particularly cruel. I rambled on about a lot of things, and he carefully patted my back, recounting his life story up to that point. There were beautiful experiences from his childhood, as well as the hardships of starting a business, but what intrigued me the most were those 3 years in high school. It turns out that back then, the reason for reporting the snacks in my desk was that they thought a boy was trying to trick me into a relationship. The reason for stealing my first place was that when our photos were hung together, we looked particularly like a couple. And the qualification for the competition was for a mixed-gender English-speaking contest. Listening and listening, I couldn't help but cover his mouth. It felt like he was chasing and escaping, and I was the biggest fool among them all. In the late stages of pregnancy, many people came to chat with me to ease my mood. According to Lily, Clara murdered John's legitimate wife because she was afraid John would leave her with nothing, and she has been in jail for several months now. It was at this time that Wendy saw clearly her vain cousin, and Wendy and I had long since reconciled. Wendy's daughter is super cute. After giving birth, Wendy is youthful and radiant, always worried that I won't take care of myself properly, and every day she and her daughter circle around me, making me both laugh and cry. I hope I can give birth safely and have a super cute and well-behaved child.